Joining us now here on Pittsburgh Sports Now, since it's been a big week for Pitt recruiting, both football and basketball, we figured we'd bring in the dean of Pitt recruiting in Pittsburgh, and that's the guru, Harry Psaros. Harry, first of all, I hope Michelle and the kids, everything's okay at home?
Everything's well. The days we can go out, work out, and get some air, that helps out a lot. So, yeah, we're holding up. No complaints.
All right, let's get into the big news of it today. It's we've kind of had a idea that it was going to be happening here, and today it was official. Is William Jeffers from Erie officially committed to Jeff Capel's program? Just your thoughts on that and the significance of it.
Wow. First and foremost, if you're a Pitt fan, today is a big, big day. This is significant that, it vaults the program up. I believe currently they're ranked roughly 30th in the nation recruiting. From a projection standpoint, what Jeff Capel is trying to do is just replenish talent on the roster, but he's looking for the big M word, momentum. This commitment really tells the program forward, and it actually makes it to sell recruits down the line that are joining something special. So it's a huge day for Jeff Capel, huge day for the basketball program, and obviously the fans are rejoicing, and they really should be.
How do you see you're bringing in a highly talented wing? They have a few of those on the roster, but how do you see him fitting into what? And from all accounts, there was some speculation on whether or not he was going to play this season or redshirt. But we talked to him today, and it sounds as though he's going to play. How do you see him fitting in?
First, you see this, and Mike, this. You're doing a lot of covering now. Essentially, a formula you're looking for. What's their background look like? What's their work ethic look like? What's their game? That's reflective of a work. What are they doing either on the field or on the basketball court? When you look at Jeffers, you're really hard pressed to find a single negative in the equation. Scoring leader, 6'7", solid, amazing family from everything I've seen. 4.0 GPA. So the only negative, and it's his fault. I believe he's 6 years old. So from a patient process, and I want everyone that's listening to this think about this. My son, Gus, is 16 years old. A year from now, he would be going up against a physically mature college junior or senior. That's the only detriment I see right now. Now, that being said, I think Jeffers can contribute anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes a game next season, because when you look at what he does, he's 6'7", great frame, very intense. He's just a high energy player. He can shoot. He can attack the basket off the dribble. One thing that's not brought up, I think, enough. He's a good garbage player. He's really good. He's like a Rodman at picking up those second attempt shots on offense and just cleaning it up and scoring. And he's a very good, lengthy defender. So he does everything well. The only thing that would be bringing him back is just the maturation process. So next year, the way I see it, I think contributing, again, anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes a game at the wing. He's versatile. He can play the 1 through the 4. I'd say more 1 through 3. But I could see him contributing great minutes, and then also just learning the system. Now, the year after that, after he hit a growth spurt, he's had a chance to eat the right foods and to build his body, he can really explode.
You used the word M word before, momentum. I'm going to use the word P word now, and that's not Psaros, but patience. Pitt fans, as soon as the minute Jeff Capel was hired, the expectation was that he was just going to immediately grab 4- and 5-star kids like he did at Duke. It's taken time. Nothing when you were inheriting a garbage dump like he was here at Pitt. As far as the program goes, no one was going to come in here and do it instantly. However, Year two, he's sitting right now at number 13 in the recruiting class. That just shows you where this program could possibly be in 3-4 years once he has a real chance of getting that N-word, and that's momentum, right?
Correct. I was astonished at the lack of perspective from some fans last year. The team started off, did fairly well, and then start trending downward, and a lot of that was lack of depth, lack of talent. He inherited a dumpster fire. He inherited the program at possibly the lowest point in its history. So this class is significant in that what we're looking at now, and depth matters. You can have a talented front five going out there starting five, but you also need play to spell that are equally as talented. Go back to the Dixon, Howland. That's what they had. So for the first time with the roster, you're starting to look at a true ACC team that can compete. How many wins it equate to, I'm not sure. But when you look at how it's meant to be for the team, I think there's a lot to be excited about, and it's taken about the right time when you look at it, how much a reel that was there. But this class, to me, is going to be the tipping point. I think it might be classically propels Pitt into the top 20.
Now we're going to move over to football. Pat Narduzzi and his coaches have done a great job in the last week, landing 4 players in the last 7 days. Last night, Miles Alston committed. Of those 4 players, does one of them stand out to you as far as significance, either in terms of on the field or just the idea of just getting him in general, as far as something else with the recruit?
Looking at all the films, I mean, I'm really pleased with the last 4 commitments that came on board. Chris Beatty, and you just published an article I wrote for the website today. I don't know how cognizant fans were when I mentioned it was a significant hire 2 years ago. Beatty does one thing consistent. He recruits, he's an ace recruiter, and he adds blue talent rosters. And he's done this consistent throughout his. What we're seeing right now is a Tidewater pipeline opening up. This is an area that traditionally hasn't been very fertile for Pitt, if at all. So, I would say out of some of the recent commits, first of all, he was one of the first to commit, but he just didn't until last night. But Miles Austin is a big-time playmaker. He's going to play in the slot, runs exceptional routes. He's not exactly a pure burner, but, man, does he have a catching radius. And I think he's going to be an impact player. And the more I watch Trevian Robinson, the kind of hybrid defensive end linebacker, you can't teach that length. And the more I watch, and the more impact he made, he's just a relentless pass rusher. There's a lot to be excited about. So, this class, if it wasn't for COVID, I actually believe would be for long. But considering the odd circumstances, the unique circumstances right now, I think Pat Narduzzi and his staff have done yeoman's work.
And I think you got to give Narduzzi credit for the hires he's made. Maybe you don't get it right at the beginning, but I think what we're seeing here in these last couple years, and when I say ace recruiters, I'm not putting them on the the pedigree of Alabama and Clemson. What I'm saying is, though, I think he has 3 really, 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 really good recruiters in Archie Collins, Chris Beatty, and of course Charlie Partridge. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or so we start mentioning the name Corey Sanders as well. He's surrounding himself. Any good head coach needs to surround himself with good assistants, especially good assistants that can recruit. And it looks like Narduzzi has done that with his staff, and it's not just one guy.
Correct. And, it's amazing how Archie has emerged, and there's the characteristics that make an individual flourish in sales are the same things you hear over and over again with those 3 in particular. A, they're relentless. B, they're humanistic. In other words, they relate well to the kids, and the kids feel very comfortable with them. And C is just fun. Always in contact. They're always on the phone. They're always either texting. And that relationship, that rapport's built up. And all of them have that commonality. And tell you, years ago, when I was the only show in town, the Pitt Guru was the only guy doing this. I didn't have a big network. So all you had was the telephone. And I decided I would call major schools, high schools, in the summer down in Florida. And I'll never forget one time I called like 6 schools in travel. They got some of the inches. And Charlie Partridge, that like had been to all of them. So I remember I caught him at the last one, which may have been Lakeland, and he was joking with me, telling me that I was stalking him. Yeah, but I got to talk to the coaches, talk about some of their prospects. So having that work ethic, that relentless work ethic, is what really sets people apart, especially great recruiters. And all these guys have it. And Beatty and Charlie Partridge have that track record. You know, we're starting to see that with Archie right now, where it's merged with him as well. And kudos to Pat Narduzzi. Now, that being said, and I mentioned this in the Beatty article today, you got to make sure you hang on to these guys, because the better they recruit, other schools have to look at them. We had to fend off a few schools for Charlie Partridge last year. I could see that happening with Archie. I could even see that happening with Beatty. So be cognizant of that. He's going to have to really keep Heather Lake on the phone, because I think at some point secure them long term.
One more question about Pitt recruiting is that it's interesting. You alluded to a little bit earlier the impact that COVID-19 has had. I just wonder in their internal meetings, if you look at the pattern that they've had the last couple of years, this is the time of the year where they're bringing kids in the last 2 months as far as unofficial visits. June has been their month of bringing in officials and getting commitments. I wonder if he's in a way, or the coaches have impressed upon the kids, you know, there's not going to be an official visit now. Because if you look at the numbers, Alston is commitment number 7. When you compare that to last year, they had 3 at this time. And in 2019, they had 0 at this time. I just wonder in what ways what we're going through has impacted their recruiting.
Oh, it's definitely impacted it. And I'm not sure if fans are cognizant of this. And you and I would be. We communicate a lot more with recruits. My humble opinion, Pitt potentially could have 3 to 4 more commitments at this time if it wasn't for COVID. Not to mention, if I may add, Pitt just lost out on a lineman to Michigan State that I truly believe that would have been a Panther if we could have got him in early enough for a visit. So, you know, there was so much momentum. You know, we're entering the season, God willing, I hope he could play, where Pat Narduzzi had his best roster, best team ready to go. People are cognizant of that. That momentum was translated with recruiting as well. So what COVID did was to actually stymie a lot of these from coming in. A lot of them just want to see the visuals. They want to see the optics. How do they feel? And maybe meet some players. You know, do I fit in with these guys? All that was truncated because of the pandemic. And I spoke to, offhand, and I could think about 3 to 4 players right now, I believe strongly, that may commit soon, but would have already been in the fold if it wasn't for the lack of a physical visit. And I want to note, I'm not by any means disparaging any of these. If it was my son, and my son said to me, Dad, I just need to see it, I completely get it. But I actually believe we could be somewhere at 10 to 11 commitments right now if it wasn't for COVID. You can flip that. We started this whole conversation talking about Jeffress. I believe COVID actually helped Pitt when it came to Jeffress. Not that they didn't build up enough rapport and goodwill with him and his family, but it did prevent him going out and looking at a Memphis. And I know Memphis after him last week, looking at a Stanford. So it's kind of funny. It actually helped basketball. I think it's been slightly, not all the way, but slightly detrimental to football.
All right, 2 more things, Harry. We just wrapped up the NFL draft over the weekend. For the second consecutive year, Pitt had 1 player drafted. I think that needs to, and I think it will improve over the next few years. But I was a little surprised that Dane Jackson, he was a player that I thought was a really good player. I'm kind of surprised that he went in the 7th round. I think Buffalo's going to get a steal there.
Of course, I'm accused sometimes of being a complete homer, but in the 7th round, it's a given. I think it's a complete steal. I think the knock on him was lack of interceptions. And I get that statistic. On the flip side, when you look at how many pass breaks up Dane had, he disrupted the play. He may have fully not caught it, intercepted it, but he's so physical. He's a great run stopper for a corner. He was disruptive in the secondary in terms of disrupting, a pass breakup. So I don't understand how that one statistic can be so telling and knock you down, let's say, 3 or 4 rounds. I don't get it. I do know that the Buffalo Bills are getting a not just great player, but a great human being with a great work ethic. And I have no doubt he's going to stick. And I have no doubt we saw what happened with Avonte Maddox. Like I said, he jumped in with the Eagles and did well. And I have no doubt that he's going to be a success with the Bills.
And I think starting next year, once again, assuming that there's a season, next year I think you're going to see a lot more Pitt players drafted. I can think off the top of my head. We're already published a couple of mock drafts that have Jalen Twyman in the 1st round. You could talk about Weaver, you could talk about Hamlin, you could talk about obviously Paris Ford, Pickett. I think you could run down the list. The potential's on this Pitt team to have some guys playing in the league.
Oh, it's next year's going to be a turning point in terms of draft picks, and even a name that wasn't thrown out there, Keyshawn Camp. Camp's a really good player, very disruptive. He just has to stay healthy. So if he has a great senior season, that entire D-line is out the door and drafted. I mean, you're going to see, and Clemson has done this in the past, where you see all of the starters being drafted. I think they could easily happen at Pitt. You have someone like Hamlin, you have Paris Ford. I could go on and on. Kenny Pickett with a great senior year. I saw something yesterday, he's projected to go to the Senior Bowl. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of players being picked. The imperative thing first is they need to prepare for this season if it happens, and I think it will, and they're going to have to perform on the field. But I think you're going to see a huge turnaround next year. You're going to see a lot of players getting drafted.
All right, Harry. Appreciate the time. I know Pitt fans enjoyed seeing you and hearing from you, and we'll try to make this a more regular occurrence here.
That'd be great. And, anybody watching this, wishing you nothing but health, happiness, and safety. I think hopefully we're looking at this starting to dissipate, the pandemic. And like I said, I hope physically we could see each other here in the future. So appreciate your time today, Mike.
All right, Harry.